Before the beginning, after the great war between heaven and hell, God created the earth and gave dominion over it to the crafty ape he called man. And to each generation was born a creature of light and a creature of darkness. And great armies would clash by night in the ancient war between good and evil. There was magic then, nobility, and unimaginable cruelty. And so it was, until the day that a false sun exploded over Trinity, and man forever traded away wonder for reason.
Greetings, listeners, domestic, international, and nomadic carnival folk. I'm Dave Reed.
And I'm Kristen Riley.
And this is the Rotating Cast Files,
a podcast where we watch and discuss those TV shows that were canceled too soon.
Today, we are talking about Carnivàle, Season 1, Episode 1, Milfay. It originally aired September 14th in 2003. It was written by Daniel Knopf and directed by Rodrigo Garcia. Before we get into it, let's just mention that up top, you'll find a list of content warnings in the show notes, because this is a heavy TV show, and if you are triggered by some of these things, you should definitely go look at the show notes.
All right, so the setup of Milfay. In the midst of the Dust Bowl, a traveling carnival roams from town to town, scraping out a living. And a Methodist minister regains his faith in the Lord after seeing amazing visions.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a very good synopsis.
Yes. All right. So, the main cast. We won't do this every episode, but here we go. Michael J. Anderson as Samson.
You know him from the episode Humbug,
Yes.
X-Files, and Twin Peaks.
Yes. And so many other things. In the commentary attached to this episode, they call him timeless. They talk about how they did so many things with the opening shot, and then if you've watched it, you know it's just Michael J. Anderson against a black screen. It's all that you need.
Yeah.
It's absolutely correct to be stripped down to just him. It's perfect. We also have Adrienne Barbeau as Ruthie. You may have seen her in The Great Houdini. That was her first role, according to IMDb. She played Daisy White. She was also in Escape from New York.
Hell yeah, she was.
Yeah, she was. I failed to include her character name, so that is on me. But so fun.
Mm-hmm.
So much fun. And she was also in you said it was the live action Cowboy Bebop?
Yep.
As Maria Murdoch. That's the most recent on her IMDb.
She's also in Swamp Thing and Creep Show.
Yes.
She's my favorite segment of Creep Show.
Oh, she's been in so many things, so I wanted to get the first, the last, and one of our favorites. The first, the most recent, and one of our favorites. We also have Patrick Bouchot as Professor Loads. He was also in Panic Room and Secretary, both in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
He was in The Cell, Clear and Present Danger. Oh, so if any of you have dads who are boomers, you've definitely seen him in Clear and Present Danger as your dad's watching it on TNT from any point in the show.
Not my dad.
No?
My dad doesn't like movies or music.
At all?
Just baseball.
All right, so I guess there's two types of dads. There's the war movie dads and then the baseball dads, the sports dads. And then sometimes there's a Venn diagram, so I'm sure there's dads
little overlap.
Yeah.
Submarine dad.
That's military, though.
Yeah, it's very specific military.
It is, but it's also always war. You don't have a submarine movie when they're just in peacetime.
Just vacationing in the submarine.
just like, yeah, we just gotta cruise along the
Marianas Trench.
Yes. Nothing's happening. We're not really
go check it out.
We're not really keeping an eye on anything.
We're shooting a movie called The Titanic.
Deborah Christopherson as Lila. Tim DeKay as Clayton Jones, a.k.a. Jonesy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we ever call him Clayton Jones.
No.
On the commentary track, when they were talking about him, they said, wanted someone who looked like they played professional baseball then.
It's a different look.
We have Clea Duvall as Sophie.
Who was in the two most on-brand things for us to mention. She was in an episode in season 1 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
And she was in the best, most fun, perfectly lengthed movie. But I'm a cheerleader. They also said on the commentary track that they just love her. That she's...
Oh, yeah. I mean...
amazing. Which...
Of course.
Of course. But I'm glad that they said it. She was also in Passengers, Zodiac, 21 Grams, Identity, The Laramie Project, and a million other things.
Identity is another one of those I want to revisit. I remember liking it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We have Cynthia Edinger as Rita Sue Dreyfuss. She was in Silence of the Lambs as Officer Jacobs. John Fleck as Gecko. Carla Gallo as Libby Dreyfuss. She was in Get Him to the Greek.
Yeah, she was in a bunch of Judd Apatow stuff.
I see. She was also in Happiest Season, and I was like, what? I don't remember seeing her in that movie. You didn't watch it with me. It was a gay Christmas love story. She was the angry homeowner.
Wait, is that the one with Twilight?
Yes.
I did watch that with you.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I hated it.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't
Her
good.
partner was abusive as fuck.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
It sucked.
It wasn't good. I just didn't realize that you watched it with me. And she was also in 33 episodes of Bones as Daisy Wick.
Poor girl.
People loved that, apparently. It was on or is still on forever.
74 years.
That's just what...
of Bones.
That's just what TV shows are now.
Yeah, they're all bones.
Yep. We have Toby Huss as Felix Stumpy Dreyfuss. He was in Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
Fantastic movie.
It was so good.
Such a good movie. He played Weird's dad.
Yep, named Nick. Amy Madigan as Iris Crow. She was in Field of Dreams because everything is about
fathers and
sons. She was in Uncle Buck and Antlers, the movie that I wanted to see for so long.
And then we finally did.
And finally saw it, and now I never think about it. But I definitely thought about it every day for like 15 months when they pushed back the release. I've never thought about it again. Every time I see the word, I'm like, oh yeah, that exists. I was obsessed with it until I saw it, which is probably not what the creators want to hear.
No.
But whoever created the imagery for it, great job. You got me. We have Diane Salinger as Apollonia. Nick Stahl as Ben Hawkins. They said they really liked him because he wasn't too muscly. And also they needed a good reactor. Yeah,
they said the other people who auditioned for it, you could tell they'd been working out.
Yeah.
Which is a hell of a thing to say about Nick Stahl.
We have Karen Steben as Alexandria, Sarah Steben as Caledonia, and Brian Turk as Gabriel. So there's lots of other people, but those are the main cast. And throughout the seasons, if somebody plays a really big part, we'll call them out, but we don't want to go through 24 to 70 cast members. It's definitely worth watching, though. So we open with the nightmare sequence. Ben is the one who's dreaming. We don't know for a few moments, but we see it's basically a video collage. We're seeing flashes of a man who we will find out to be called Scudder. Scudder being chased by the usher through a cornfield. A hand, possibly Ben's holding a Templar ring, bearing the motto, In hoc signo vinces, which means, by this sign you shall conquer. We see Sophie turning over the magician during Ben's tarot reading. The funeral procession, Ruthie with a snake during one of her acts, Scudder popping his top hat, a dead lamb, a photo of a mining crew focusing in on Scudder's picture, a rape by the tattooed man, a picture of Felix's gun on the pillow next to 4 bullets, a picture of Lobster Girl, Ben waking up from a dream with no arms or legs, more scenes from the trench during World War I featuring Belikov aiming at Scudder, and a shot of a funeral.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
It hits fast. Some of this stuff has not happened yet.
Yes.
Some of this stuff is the future.
And some of this stuff is stuff that hasn't happened to Ben.
And it's happened far in the past.
Yes.
So it's strange, to say the least.
Right, because this is the Dust Bowl, so it's the early 30s.
It's 1934 in Oklahoma.
That's right. And obviously, World War I is over by this point.
Yes.
So some of those shots were definitely before Ben could be old enough to have experienced them. On a barren farm in the middle of a dust storm, a young man, Ben Hawkins, watches over his dying mother. He reaches for her when she has a coughing fit and she pulls away, disgusted. "Don't touch me," she says, but then she dies.
The coughing that this actor does is harsh.
Yes, it is.
It hurt me.
Yeah. Outside, a group of trucks roll by down the highway. You can't really tell that it's a highway because everything just looks like dust.
Just dirt.
They stop to find Hawkins digging in the rock-hard ground with a man on a bulldozer shouting down at him. So this scene is amazing. You've got the little house. You've got Ben Hawkins with a shovel. You've got a body under a blanket. You have a man in a bulldozer about the size of the house.
Yeah.
And you have nothing else.
It's barren.
It is barren as far as the eye can see.
Yeah. The guy says, "I'm going to run you down. Boss says I can do that."
Right.
What the fuck?
It feels like nothing's gotten any better.
No. Now you have to have a badge and then you can do it.
Yeah, and Ben says something like, "This is my house." And the guy's like, "It doesn't matter.
This house belongs to First Merchant Trust."
And that's it. And so then we see Samson, the co-manager of the traveling carnival, betting his right-hand man, Jonesy, that the man on the bulldozer squashes Hawkins' meager existence. And Jonesy takes the bet. As soon as he does, he gets out of the vehicle.
I didn't say you could stick your nose in it.
You didn't say I can't.
And I am already infatuated with the 1930s speak in this show.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
I don't know if it's accurate, but I know I love it.
Yeah. When Jonesy walks up to Ben, he realizes that Ben is trying to bury his mother. And after the bulldozer guy comes over to see what's up, he finds out. Jonesy asks if the bulldozer guy has any shovels.
Now, there is a part where you can hear somebody yelling to the bulldozer guy. It's definitely ADR, because there's nobody else around. But you're supposed to feel like he's part of a crew that's there. But they must not have had the budget to have a whole crew.
Oh, was there supposed to be a crew?
Because you can hear somebody yelling, like the bulldozer guy's boss. You can hear him yelling, "You better hurry it up."
But they zoom out, and it's just the carnival.
They zoom out, but they never show you too much behind the bulldozer.
That's true.
They do take care to not show what's going on back there.
That's true, because then how did the bulldozer get here? There's nothing around.
He definitely didn't drive from, Toronto.
So the carnival roustabouts help dig the hole. We don't watch that. But we do see the eclectic troupe, including conjoined twins, a giant, and a bearded lady, hold a small burial service for Ben's mother.
And this is our first use of hymnals in this show.
Oh my goodness.
The use of hymns that this show accomplishes is so good for tone and it's just so well done.
It is. It's really good. The bulldozer man waits for the burial and the funeral to complete, which is good of him. And then he destroys the house. Like, as soon as the hymn stops.
Easily. Just rolls right over it.
It's amazing.
Easily. But I do want to go back to the funeral for a second because we get a shot of the Dreyfus family.
Yes.
Who are uninterested.
Mm-hmm.
They do not care.
No. I mean, it is the Great Depression. I'm sure they're seeing people die constantly.
Okay. I just wanted to point it out because it's a good shot.
It is a good shot. I noticed it, but I was also like, I mean, how interested would you be?
I'd probably be over there with them, except they're smoking and they smell bad. So never mind. I might go sing a hymn if nobody's smoking over there. The non-smoking section.
I see. You basically have the respectful carnival folk and the disrespectful carnival folk.
I guess that
they're not really disrespectful though. They're not. Yeah. It's not like they're talking
or drinking whiskey.
They're just
yelling at.
They're just.
People.
I got the impression that they came out to do the work that was needed, and then they went back and hung out in the shade. And we're like, this doesn't have anything to do with us. Otherwise, why would they get out of the vehicles?
Well, because there's no air conditioning.
Ugh. Whose idea was that?
1934.
As Samson and the gang try to decide what to do with Hawkins, a car is approaching, and Ben collapses. So Ruthie has Gabriel carry Ben.
Samson is a no, right up to the point that there's a cop. And then Samson is like, well, can't leave him for the cops.
Right.
He's just no. Pew, pew. All right, let's get him.
Yep. All right, let's move out. Next, we go and we get to meet our other half.
Yeah.
In Minturn, California, Brother Justin Crow delivers a sermon on the devil. An older woman, who you'll find out is named Eleanor, is listening to the sermon, and as the plate is passed, she reaches in and makes eye contact with the plate holder to distract him.
Exactly.
It was so good.
It's very good.
She takes money from the plate, but Iris, Crow's sister, sees her. Iris terrifies me. Iris is the first person I've seen so far that scares me.
Yeah.
As Eleanor tries to leave during a song, another use of hymnals, Iris stops her. And again, Iris is terrifying.
Yes, the way Iris grabs her with her left arm on Eleanor's left arm, and then her other hand on her shoulder, and there's a quick second where she like moves and tightens her grip.
Yes.
And the use of the hymnal.
Yes.
With this is horrifying.
It's so scary. One other thing to note is that Eleanor is dirtier than the other people in the church. She is obviously visiting, or at least has fewer resources than this group. Justin talks to Eleanor in his home after the service. Iris leaves the room and Eleanor tries to talk herself out of the situation, which all makes sense. Justin confronts her, and suddenly she starts coughing up gold coins.
After he touches her, he presses the coin that she stole into her hand.
Oh, that's what he does.
Yes.
Okay.
And curls her hand around it.
That's right.
Keep this as a token of your sin, because he's talking about your sin.
Right.
And in that Clancy Brown voice.
We all, each of us, carry within us the seeds of our own salvation and our own damnation.
Oh, it's so good.
Fuck. Longtime listeners of this podcast will know I love when dudes have cool voices. Like Vladimir Kulich and Clancy Brown.
Oh, it's so good. When she starts coughing up gold coins, Brother Justin takes it as a sign from God and asks her to pray with him. Eleanor is terrified. She doesn't know how she's vomiting up gold coins. She doesn't know how to make it stop. She doesn't know what made it start. It's horrifying.
And Justin is also shocked.
Yes.
He is shocked, but not so much that he doesn't decide to start praying. He's not like bewildered.
Yes.
I think they may have mentioned this in the commentary. So you see that Justin is surprised by this. He was not expecting it, but he does, in his mind, live in a world where something like this, miracles could happen.
Yes. In the commentary, they say how in the original version of Brother Justin, he was, and actually in the scene, he was more in control of the situation and essentially was making it happen, as opposed to what we actually see, which is him being shocked also.
Oh,
and this was the correct way to go. Yeah. Because in the original version that they were playing around with him, they start him out and we get to learn how this world is being built around his reactions. So if we had seen him and it felt like he was controlling this situation, it would have left a whole different vibe moving forward. But seeing how he's surprised, but he's not afraid, and it's not beyond the realm of his belief system, is really good. It's a great way to set this up.
Yes. And then he starts to try to help her immediately.
Yes.
When he feels like it's gone, when he feels like God has gone too far.
Right. He's like, let's pray. Get on your knees, pray. And he grabs her again and
he hugs her and he yells, "Enough!"
Yes. It's great. Back on the road, Samson and Jonesy are listening to the radio. They're driving by families in groups on the side of the road. It's showing a swath of the population during this time period, and we get a glimpse of the folks in the town as they are driving into town as the carnival is arriving at night. And I really love this because we get the people who are unhoused, who are on the sides of roads in their Basically, they're like tent cities types of things. And then we get into town and we see a shot of this room and there's bunk beds and there's a boy on the top bunk and a girl on the bottom bunk. And when they hear the carnival coming, they know it and they get out of bed and they go to the window so they can watch it all start. They are so excited. It's great. It's a great shot. Next, we see Ben. We go back to where Ben is. He is passed out in Lila's and Professor Loads' truck. Lila is the bearded lady. Professor Loads is the mentalist. He is also blind, I believe. He's got cataracts.
He is blind.
I love the hookah. She's there and she's all fancy and she's smoking a giant hookah. It's a great juxtaposition between the 3 different scenes that we've seen right now leading up to this. We see the unhoused people who are basically living in dirt because that's all that is here in this dust bowl. We see a family and then we see it's essentially the wealthiest group of people we've seen so far. The way that their rich colors and draperies and everything are all set up.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, and the accessories that they have and all of it. It's great. It's a great procession of how everybody's living.
Yeah. Now, the unhoused are the migrant workers. They are not just like unhoused from the area. They're going around looking for work. It's real Grapes of Wrath type shit.
Yes, that's right. The 2 are discussing their strange passenger, who has been, and Lila asks Loads to tell her what Hawkins is dreaming about, because apparently that's one of his mentalist tricks. I love the dynamic between these 2 immediately. It's obvious that they're very comfortable together, that they have a teasing relationship, but it's not mean. It's not mean-spirited, but they're definitely teasing each other. I love how this is all set up, because a lot of times in a pilot, you don't get fully fleshed characters.
Yeah.
And we have them.
Yeah. She calls him an old fraud and he just chuckles.
Yeah, you're right.
Because did he cheat at Jen or did he win at Jen? I know he won at Jen, but I didn't catch.
Right, yeah.
I don't know enough about Jen.
Me neither. It's just fun to watch them have. It's like we are peeking into, like I said, fully fleshed out characters. They're actual people, not just pilot characters that may or may not become something. It's great. Loads gives in to the taunting and touches Ben's forehead. He starts to convulse and sees strange flashes of 2 men, one in a tuxedo and the other in a military uniform, in a restaurant, a man with a huge tree tattooed on his chest in a cornfield, and what looks like World War I.
Yeah, he's seeing the montage that we saw at the beginning.
But we don't replay the whole thing. Yeah. But yeah. Lila pulls Loads away and he collapses after whispering, "Scudder." Yeah.
Now, we've seen a quote-unquote miracle.
Yes.
But we've seen some magic that is not divine.
Yes.
For the first time.
Yep.
So now we're starting to see what this world is like.
Where are the edges of this world? And we aren't sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's great.
It's so well done. I love this fucking show.
It's so good. In the morning, Ben meets the odd cast of characters and tries to hightail it back to town. We get to see the carnival being set up. In the commentary, they discuss how difficult it was to shoot these scenes because they had to imagine at what portion or percentage of the setup would be happening at this time. I really loved that they thought through it that much because, they're not shooting these in order and then they had to do reshoots and all kinds of things. So the background is so important to the set designers and the story.
I appreciated that in the commentary, they gave a lot of props to the production design.
Yes. Yeah, so it was really good.
Now, one of the things that happens in this before he hightails it out of town is he goes out to get his clothes and then he falls into a puddle. He's wearing one of Lila's kimonos.
Yes.
Jonesy comes over to rib him, which is kind of just like whatever. But one of the things he says to make fun of him is just kimono.
That's right.
It's just the funniest thing to me.
You're right. That is one of his lines. Amazing. I do love that. So he wakes up and he's undressed. But I love that they undressed him and then washed his clothes and hung them out. So now he has clean clothes, which is great because who knows how long it's been since he's watched.
Until he fell in the mud.
Yeah, well.
And he screwed himself over.
Right, but still, it was nice. It was nice of them, because...
Yeah, it was great of them.
It's gotta be scary waking up without your clothes on, but it's also gotta be nice to have your clothes cleaned if you haven't had them cleaned in who knows how long.
Who knows?
Just picture his house. Where is the water? Where is the water source?
Oh, there's a well, maybe, somewhere.
Right, and if
it's probably dried up.
Right, and if you have a well, if you can get any water out of it, you're not wasting it on clothes.
No.
You're drinking it at the end.
Yes.
We also meet Sophie and Apollonia in a quick scene. We know Sophie is a tarot reader and her mother appears catatonic. However, they can communicate somehow. Sophie speaks aloud, whether for our benefit or because that's how it works. But Apollonia doesn't speak aloud. However, she will throw tarot cards around if she is frustrated.
Yeah, but we're not sure what she's frustrated about because we can't hear her talk.
That's right. It's a one-sided conversation that you would hear on a telephone. It's great. Sophie catches up with Ben on the road. He's dressed back in his own clothes, but he's not exactly thrilled to be here. He says something about how they kidnapped him and he didn't want to be with... He said something derogatory.
Yeah, it was derogatory.
And he's just being rude, and so she drives off to town, which is fair. I understand that he would be in a scary situation, but also, what the fuck is your plan, Ben?
I don't think he had one. I think he escaped from the chain gang to go to his mom, and he's 18. He doesn't have plans.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I forgot to mention the chain around his ankle.
Oh, yeah. We didn't mention that.
No, but, okay, so back up just slightly. When Jonesy arrives at the grave that Ben is trying to dig, Ben has the chain peeking out from his pants. But, fast forward to when he wakes up in Lila's truck, he has a red mark around his ankle, but the chain is gone.
They have washed his clothes and cut the chain off his ankle.
Yes. Which makes more sense why they were taking him away when the cop showed up. Because otherwise it would just be like, if he wasn't wanted by the coppers, it would have just been annoying. But, they would have just all left. We're leaving, whatever. So Sophie drives off into town. She's going to get gas in the tank or whatever. The next scene is really sad. Ben is walking toward town and he passes through the migrant camp. And this is where we see a grieving woman holding a baby in rags and a man nearby who catches Ben's attention.
He says it ain't right. Baby deserves a proper burial. So
yeah.
We learn that the baby is no longer with us.
Yes.
And who knows? I think it's been days.
It's been days, if not longer.
And the woman is holding him and singing to him.
Yes.
It's tragic.
Oh, God. It's really hard.
So you don't have to keep talking.
But move past it fast.
Ben walks up to her and says something that gets her to realize that baby's no longer with us and we get the baby away from her.
Yes, she realizes that and hands it over, and then he gives the baby to the man. We don't know what happened. If it's magical.
Right.
Or we don't know what Ben's deal is. So he leaves. He gets to town, and that's where Sophie was going. He walks up toward the gas station and notices Sophie's vehicle. Then he hears screaming from inside and rushes in to find two men trying to rape Sophie. Because times, they never change. He helps attack her attackers. She's kicking and trying to get away from them, but being 2 against 1, it's tough. However, once Ben arrives, they're able to hit the guys, and they escape back to camp. Ben drives her back to camp. Her shirt is ripped open, so he gives her his jacket or top shirt or something. I hate this scene, but I like the commentary track where Clea Duvall Sophie was originally written to lose it and kick the guys a bunch and just freak out. And Clea Duvall said she wouldn't do that.
No. Hit him in the back of the head once and then get out of there.
Yep. It was perfect.
Somewhere around here, Loads is talking with Samson and telling him about the dream reading.
Yes.
He says, it nearly destroyed me.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was funny. No, I mean, it messed you up, but he didn't evaporate or anything. What are you talking about? I barely survived. What?
He's a showman. He's got to exaggerate.
And I think that's part of them showing his character.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, the first several times I saw this episode. I didn't really pick up on that.
Yeah.
But it was this last time I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you're going a little hard on this.
Playing it up just a little.
And Samson can see it.
Yes.
And Samson takes a good long look at the absinthe bottle.
Yes. Yes.
And Samson says that if Hawkins was dangerous, management would know.
Right.
Oh, would he?
Right.
So now we know management is a man.
That's right. Is this the first time? This is one of the first times that management actually comes up.
It's one of the first times, yeah.
Yeah.
I think earlier, when they first pick up Hawkins, Jonesy asks Samson about him. Have you talked to management?
That's right.
And Samson seems annoyed. He's like, he was expected.
Right.
What's that mean? I quit asking that question a long time ago.
That's right. That's right. Jonesy sees Ben and Sophie arrive back at the carnival. Sophie's torn clothes indicate what happened, but not how. She and Jonesy make eye contact for the briefest moment, but it's very meaningful. You can see a lot. You can tell that they have some sort of relationship. And Ben notices but walks his own way. He goes a different direction. Sophie goes to her trailer. Then we get to the scene where I think Jonesy fucking sucks.
Yeah, not a good showing by our guy here.
No, he does knock. He comes into her trailer. She's sitting there. You can see Apollonia, her mother, in the background. And Jonesy is basically blaming Sophie for what happened to her. And Sophie's not taking his shit.
No, Sophie is not taking her shit. And he's not basically blaming her. He is outright blaming her.
You're right. He is.
She says, oh, it's my fault. It's my fault. And he says, yes, it is.
That's right.
What the fuck? 1934? Jesus Christ.
I just wrote, Sophie is more aware of the world they live in than Jonesy is.
Yeah. At least by the 1990s, you wouldn't say, yes, it's your fault. You'd say something like, well, what were you wearing?
1990s to today. Still today. Nothing has gotten better. Meanwhile, Samson tries to convince Ben to stay on at the carnival. Samson is amazing in this scene. This is when Ben keeps trying to walk off. And Samson's like, no, you should stay. And
he's just yelling after him. Will you give John Law a good hidey-ho for me?
Right. Ben keeps walking off. But we do see him come back, and Samson continues to chat him up while Ben has food.
I love this scene. So Samson's just being real cordial. My dad, big hands, spoke German at home. I don't remember much of the Deutsch anymore. Real good scene. I want to know your story. He says nothing. I don't have a real story, blah, blah, blah. Samson's just, there's another real easy, quick, good character building moment.
Yeah.
Samson's like, do I look simple to you, Hawkins? That's good, because I ain't. I've been to Chicago. I've been to New York. Right. Like, being places, it makes you worldly. I made eyes at Theta Bera, which made me
look up Theta Bera.
Look up Theta Bera.
Oh.
He made eyes at this lady.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now she haunts his soul.
She invented goth eye makeup.
I love it. Amazing. I love this line of reasoning why you are a worldly, non-simple person, because people today will still do that. I watched an Instagram story yesterday that was making fun of this.
Nice.
It's really good. Ben, however, gets angry at one point and walks away, and Samson's like, what, you don't like steak? And he says, no, the steak's fine. I don't like questions.
Yeah.
That night, Ben walks the carnival, so even though he's mad, he's still not going anywhere.
He's got no place to... He's Richard Gere, an officer and a gentleman. I got no place to go!
So we get to see the carnival all set up and all lit up, and it is brilliant. We see all of the
such
lights.
A fantastic place to go.
We see the hand-painted banners, the lighted midway, the rides, the acts. We also see Jonesy being super sweet to the little girl in the wagon. The little girl that we saw in the house. Mm-hmm. So she's going to be coming up a couple of different times. She cannot use her legs. We don't know why, but we know that she can't use her legs. So she is at the carnival, and I believe she's with her brother, so he's probably pulling her around in the little red wagon. So Jonesy picks her up, puts her into the ride, and says, "Did you give this man here your tickets?" And she's like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "Here's 2 for you and 2 for your brother." And it's like, "Aw."
Your money's no good here.
Yeah, it's so cute, especially after we saw him being a complete asshole.
Yeah, it's a nice look at Jonesy.
It is.
So he's not a complete shithead. He's just got the wrong mindset about stuff because he's a guy in 1934.
Because he's a guy.
I don't have that mindset.
Until 1990.
It's like right up till 1994. That's when I quit. I was like, no more of that.
Like,
I'm about to graduate high school.
I'm about to know that bisexuals exist.
I'm about to learn about bisexuality.
Next, Ben wanders to the Coochie show. The commenters had a field day talking about adding this family. They loved talking about adding this family.
Because they didn't realize, I didn't either, so until they were talking to their carnival consultant person.
Yeah.
When they learned that the Cooch show were usually run by families.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, well, we're doing that.
Yes.
It's awesome. And I love Stumpy's, I forget, Barker speech.
Yeah.
He says, "This ain't no ordinary Cooch show. This is an educational demonstration of European muscle dancing."
That's right. It's amazing.
So good. Toby Huss is so good in this role.
Yes. Yes.
This is the role he was made for. This and Weird Al Yankovic's dad.
To be a Cooch Barker?
Yes.
I am currently reading a book about the circus fire from the Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the only circuses that did not have a Cooch show. And all of the other circuses and carnivals made fun of them for it.
Wow. That's hilarious.
Yeah. They were the pristine
What
show.
are you doing, P.T. Barnum?
Yep.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for.
So
He's like, this is for families.
yeah. After the Cooch show, Ben is sitting somewhere and just kind of hanging out. And that's when he realizes there's also sex work involved and is scandalized.
He's like, in 1934? What?
But Samson is delighted to scandalize Ben. It's amazing.
Rita Sue didn't do nothing to that man that First Merchants Trust didn't do to you.
That's right.
You think on that.
That's right. Ben has no more lines the rest of the episode.
He's just walking around with his mouth open.
But I love how Samson basically struts off after giggling about the whole thing. It's great. Ben kind of recovers, and Sophie finds him somewhere else. She brings him back his jacket, and they chat. But he says he's not a carny. I ain't one of y'all. I'm normal, or something like that. And she's like, all right, keep telling yourself that, kid. It's a pretty good scene between the two of them. There's no, even though he's still resisting, there's no hard feelings coming from her. She's like, come by and get a tarot reading. We'll see what happens with you. Then we get another nightmare and some foreshadowing. I don't have all of the descriptions of this one.
It's a lot of the same stuff.
That's what I was thinking.
It is just all of the nightmare montages are kind of the same stuff. They will occasionally add something here and there, but usually it's all the same stuff we've already seen.
That's what I was thinking. It's just kind of, we don't see all of it. We see snippets of it, but it's stuff from the original.
Yeah, but what's different about this one
is that it's brother Justin who's having the nightmare.
Same nightmare as Ben.
Yes.
So that's a little weird.
Yep. And brother Justin wakes up. He is covered in sweat. The radio is playing. He's in his house. He had fallen asleep in his chair.
Listening to The Shadow.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And his sister Iris is sitting across from him knitting. Not noticing he's having a nightmare. I feel like he must have been twitching, though. How sweaty he was and how bad that nightmare was.
He's sweaty because it's 1934 in California.
That's true. That's true.
Minturn, I don't know if it's north or south.
I don't either.
I know it's cantaloupe country, though.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, he decides he's going to go for a walk. He walks through town, and then he walks through a migrant camp where there is a banjo, where the commentators had to describe the banjo because he's like, that's right, you got to be happy somehow.
You can't be sad with a banjo playing.
That's right. He continues walking, and he arrives in front of Mr. Chen's, with neon lights and all. It is a house that has a building with like a house front and just neon all over it. So I looked, and yes, neon has been around for, I didn't think that they got it wrong. I just didn't know how old neon was. Neon's been around for less than a decade about this point, as far as and signs and stuff. But so it's still relatively new, and this is the Great Depression, so they
have money.
Have some money.
Yeah, and they have that nice Chinese facade looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it looks like a Chinese building.
Yes. There is a woman who approaches Brother Justin as he's standing there just gawking at the building.
I mean, what other impression is she supposed to have?
Right?
What else would he be there for when he's just staring like that?
Right. So she comes up and she's saying whatever she's saying to him, but basically...
Are you lonely?
No, basically, yeah, and trying to invite him inside. She puts her hands on him and he grabs her back. And, and the whole scene changes because the vibe is no longer enticing him to come inside. She just like...
yells at him in Mandarin, and one of the words she yells is Guilo. And I used to know what that means. And in my head, I can just hear James Hong saying Guilo. Editor's note, very interesting. Guilo means the same thing, but has different meanings depending on whether you're speaking Mandarin, like this lady is, or if you're speaking Cantonese. It's two different words. It's Guai and Lo, meaning ghost or devil, Guai, and man or guy, Lo, in Chinese. But if you're speaking Mandarin, it's a pejorative. It's derogatory. But if you're speaking Cantonese, it's not. It just means white people. In Mandarin, it's like devil man or ghost guy. And it's meant to be derogatory as an insult. But in Cantonese, it's not. Very interesting, I thought.
I didn't look it up. I just knew. I didn't need to. I got the gist of what was happening.
You understood it?
Yeah.
Her intent anyway?
I understood the intent, if not the actual translation. So she goes away, and he stands there, and he's still looking up at the building. Then it starts to snow. And then it starts to rain blood.
Raining blood!
And he's standing there, and he's watching, and it's very subtle. We don't notice it exactly as it's happening, but everybody disappears. And it's just Brother Justin in front of the Mr. Chin sign. And then the neon starts burning out. And it's just raining blood down on him. And then everything burns out, all of the neon, except a burning cross. That's when he drops to his knees and he weeps. As he hits the ground, he is dry. Everything is back to normal and all of the people reappear.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal transition.
Such a good shot.
So good. That's where we leave Brother Justin. The next morning, Ben helps pack up the carnival and lets Sophie read his cards. She decides to read his past, and as she turns the cards, Ben has flashbacks of his mother. This is also a really hard scene. In his flashback, his mother's screaming at a younger version of himself for digging up a dead cat.
It's been in the ground 3 days.
Yep. And when she pulls the kitten from him, it springs to life. She's horrified and says he's been marked by the devil. So then she drowns the cat in front of him. It's awful. Later, he's still in his vision, but at a later point in time when she's dying, he tries to touch her to heal her, we think, or whatever he did to the cat. And she shrinks away, grabbing a cross. She will not let him touch her, because she thinks he's been marked by the devil.
She keeps calling him filth.
Yeah.
Now, seeing that Ben Hawkins, as a young boy, has brought a kitten back from the dead.
Yes.
We have more magic. And it's more of that world building.
It's more magic, but that kind of magic would be considered a miracle. So now we're back in miracle land.
It would be if he was, a preacher.
Eh.
But he's not a preacher. He's just a little boy. Little boys can't be preachers.
Don't let preachers get under your skin. They don't have any better powers than the rest of us.
Sure they do.
Sophie sees that Ben is visibly distraught, and she asks what he sees. She can't see his visions. She can just read his cards and his body language.
Now, do you think that Apollonia can see his visions?
I think Apollonia probably can.
Can? Yeah. I
don't know.
I don't know. I go back and forth on it.
I don't know, but I feel like Apollonia has more. I feel Sophie can read the cards, do tarot readings. Apollonia has something else. But it feels like Sophie has the carnival tricks, but Apollonia has something else.
She's definitely magic too.
Which makes sense why, I mentioned this earlier, why Sophie is talking to her out loud, but Apollonia is talking to her different ways.
So we're getting glimpses of different kinds of magic all over the place.
Yes.
Including resurrection.
Yes. He tells Sophie he doesn't see anything and tells her to continue. She turns the last card and tells him that he has a great gift that he has kept secret. Squandered. The card is upside down, so it means it's squandered. She asks what he's hiding, and he stammers, nothing. And then he runs away, which is the best way to cover up when you're hiding anything.
Yes.
Stutter, stammer, have trouble saying your words, and then run away as fast as you can.
Yes. Now, he says nothing, and Sophie reaches out and touches him to try to be comforting. And you see this shot of Brother Justin coming out of the darkness with black eyes.
That's right.
Saying, tell me!
Yes.
Which is sort of a hint that maybe Brother Justin is not as good as he seems.
What? The holy man?
I know your relationship with holy men.
Where Ben runs is out into a neighboring field where they're the only green that we've seen in this whole episode. And he weeps. A little girl, the little girl from the carnival, asks why he's crying. He looks up and sees her. She's sitting there in her little red wagon. And she says that her mother told her that the carnival folk are marked, which is exactly what his mother said about him.
Yeah.
Ben says they're just people. And I think hearing himself say that
exactly
is what really starts turning him.
Because the whole rest of the episode, I'm not one of you. I ain't like that. That'll be the day.
Yep.
Which was basically the C word in 1934.
Yeah, he takes him 36 hours with the carnival to realize they're people. He asks he says, does that hurt? Indicating her legs. And she says, yes. He asks how long it's been like that. And she says, forever. And she's like 7, which is, I always love when kids are like, forever. I know. Is it your whole life or is it a year? Either way, it's forever as a kid. Samson hollers at Ben and asks if he's coming along. Basically like, if you're coming, we're going. So let's go. Ben ignores him and Samson basically says, whatever, let's go.
Yeah. I'll tell management you didn't want to come.
Yep. Ben leans down and touches the little girl's legs. As he concentrates, the field around them starts to shrink and die. He turns and runs off toward the carnival as it's leaving, and he jumps into the last truck. We see him lift himself up into the back of the truck. He lays down. We know that he's going with the carnival. Then we turn back to the shot of the little girl's wagon. We just see the wagon, and then we see her little legs step out, and she's standing. And as we pull out, the shot pulls out, we see the carnival trucks driving away. We see her running up toward her house. And as she's running, the greenery around her is just dying. Miracles ain't free, as the commenters would say.
No. Clearly, now we know he can heal things.
Yes.
As well as bringing kittens back from the dead.
Yes.
So when he brought the kitten back from the dead, what do you think he took to do that?
I was wondering that because they're sitting in the middle of a bunch of dirt. So it could have been crops.
Well, yeah, because when he was a child, we don't know if it was dirt.
No, we don't know. Because we don't see outside when he's a kid.
Yeah.
I also wanted to note that as much as Ben is trying to help in this scenario, during the Dust Bowl and Great Depression, the family probably would have been better off with all of that food.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because we talked about it when we watched it the other day.
Yep. And we've seen this girl a few times in this episode, so we have no reason to believe that she's unhappy. We do now know that she's been in pain this whole time, which sucks.
Yeah.
Without that line, she seems happy. She's living her life. She's having a good time. But now there's no food. So this might get bad for this family real fast.
Well, Kristen, this is a heavy episode and a heavy show. Everybody's very emotional. Do you think you could find an emotional, maybe an emo song for the characters to listen to and maybe feel a little bit better?
Yes, I do. I have chosen Little Things by Good Charlotte.
Oh, great.
Do you want to listen to it or read the lyrics?
Yeah, I don't believe I have ever heard that song before.
Oh, great. You're going to listen to it now.
Wow, what a terrible song.
Well, yes, but you wanted me to find something that had the sentiment I was going for.
Yeah.
And it really reminds me of Ben.
The Ben Hawkins theme song, Little Things.
Yes.
By Good Charlotte.
Yeah. The Rotating Cast Files is produced by Kristen Riley and Dave Reed, edited by Dave Reed. Thanks for being here, and if you enjoyed the episode, please rate, review, and subscribe.
Please go to Apple Podcasts and give us 5 stars. Tell us that we are fighting the righteous battle in podcasting good and evil.
That old-time religion.
That old-time podcast religion.
Or, even easier, tell people about us. It really helps us out.
You can check us out on Twitter and Instagram at CastFiles.
We also auto-post to YouTube, if that's your streaming service of choice, or if you like closed captions. And finally, email us at therotatingcastfiles@gmail.com.